Today for brunch, we are going to be making a really simple scramble with eggs, bacon, and onions. And then we're also going to be making, because I have this amazing leftover mascarpone cheese. Okay, we have to stop for a second because I realized in the making of this that I have been mispronouncing this word my whole entire life. And there is no R at the beginning of the word before the S. The R goes at the end of the word before the P. So it is not pronounced Mascarpone. It is pronounced Mascarpone. Mascarpone. And now we've all learned something and we can move on, and please try to ignore my mispronunciation of the word throughout the video. Some toasts with mascarpone and roasted hazelnuts and some honey drizzled over it. So I'm really excited. And first we're going to make my favorite breakfast cocktail ever. This is a bloody michelada with my favorite brand of mezcal. Instead of tequila or vodka, we use mezcal for this. And we're going to start by making the breakfast cocktail. So first I'm gonna fill my shaker filled with ice. And next, I'm going to measure out 3 shots of mezcal. I think 1.5 is good for each of us today. And this is mezcal vago elote. I hope I'm saying that right. But this is my favorite kind of mezcal. It's really smoky. It's kind of like tequila, but a little richer in flavor. It's kind of an acquired taste, but it's one that we really love. If you don't have mezcal or you just don't like mezcal, you can replace it with a blanco tequila. Okay. Next, I'm going to add clamato juice. So I'm gonna put, I don't know, I'm gonna fill this so the shaker's almost filled to the top, but not quite. So maybe a cup. And I'm gonna juice this whole entire lime and squeeze it into my shaker. We want this to be really limey. Okay, that's good. And now I'm going to get out the key ingredient, Tabasco. We're going to add quite a bit of Tabasco because we want this to be very spicy. So I would say a good 10 drops, at least. But you can adjust depending how you like it. I'm going to shake it carefully, maybe over the sink a little bit. And I'll get out our 2 glasses. Okay, divide the mixture between the 2 glasses. And you don't want them to be completely full, and I'll show you why in a second. But make sure you leave a little bit of room at the top. Okay, because now we are going to top this with some beer. That's what makes it a michelada. So we're gonna take, I'm using Modelo. It's a Mexican beer. And I'm just going to pour, a little beer in the top of each one. And that's it. Now you have bloody micheladas made with mezcal. So I'm gonna get some straws and I'm gonna give Brandon his drink, and then we will start making our brunch. We'll give it a little taste first. It's really good, it's perfect. It's kind of smoky, but it's really got a little kick to it because of the Tabasco that we added, and it's very bright because of the lime. It really is my favorite cocktail for breakfast, and the beer makes it a little bit effervescent, so it's a little fizzy. It's really nice. The other thing you can do with this is keep the beer, because when you start getting a little low, you can add a little bit more beer to your breakfast cocktail so that it lasts a little longer. So I'm gonna just set the beer over here for now. So today we're doing a really simple scramble because I really want to highlight the toast with the mascarpone and the roasted hazelnuts. So I'm just gonna slice up some things that I have left over. I have a little onion and I have a couple slices of bacon, and I think we can just cook that all together in the pan and add the eggs and make a really simple scramble out of it. So I'm gonna get started on that. I'm going to turn on my second camera that Brandon has set up. Okay, camera 2, we got it. Okay, so I'm going to chop this onion a little bit differently than how I normally chop the onions. I'm going to cut the ends off, and that's just to get a flat surface on it. I'm going to peel the outside layer completely off, and I'm going to slice it in a crisscross this way, and then I'm going to twist it and slice it from the top the other way. So, and I'm not cutting all the way through the onion. I'm just cutting it down about 3/4 of the way. And this is because I don't want big, huge chunks of onion in my scramble. I want really tiny little bits of onion in my scramble. So you can see what it looks like a little bit. And now I'm just going to twist it on its side and cut it from here. And now you'll see it's really tiny little pieces of onion that are falling off. Much finer than we would get if I were just to cut this the normal way that I do it. And just scoop them right in there. Good. And next, let's chop up some bacon. This is extra thick cut bacon. I'm gonna slice this up first and cook it in a smaller pan to get the little bits cooked. And then when they start to cook quite a bit, I'm gonna add the onions right to the cooking bacon. I might get some of the fat out of the pan first, but we'll see how much fat there is at the time. So when I cut the bacon, I'm gonna cut it in half. And then I'm going to cut it the long way. You try to use a sharp knife for this. And then I'll cut it the other way into tiny little bits. Make sure you cut all the way through. You don't want pieces stuck together. Now I'm going to turn on the stove over medium to high. Let's do medium heat because I want to cook the bacon first. So we've got the pan heating up over medium heat. Okay, so now I'm going to add the bacon to the pan. It's not super hot yet, but bacon, we want to start cooking at a low temperature anyway, so it renders that fat off. So we've got the bacon cooking. We're gonna let that cook for a little bit before we add the onions. The next thing we need to do is roast the hazelnuts for the toast. So I'm gonna get those out and put them on a baking sheet. But first I'm going to preheat my oven to 350. And I'm not using this oven. I have a small toaster oven over here. So I'm going to be using the small toaster oven for this because I don't need a whole huge big oven just to do these roasted nuts. So I have my foil lined baking sheet. I'm going to preheat my oven to 350. And I have an option to set the time now. So I'm gonna set it for 10 minutes because I at least want to check the nuts after 10 minutes to see how they're doing. So I'm gonna push start, and now my little oven is preheating. I'm gonna take out my nuts, hazelnuts, yum. And you can get these at any grocery store. These were just from the little store down the street. And I'm going to put some, whoa, hazelnuts everywhere. I don't need that many, but I can reuse roasted hazelnuts. So if I roast a lot of them, even if I don't use all of them for the toast that we're making, I'm going to find another way to use these hazelnuts. For the bacon, you can see it is sizzling now. This is looking really good. That fat is rendering off quite a bit. Looking good. And we're just gonna poke it around so that it cooks evenly on all sides. So I think it's looking good. It needs to render a little bit more. I'm gonna turn the heat down just a tiny bit so that we don't overcook it. Okay, I'm going to, this is looking like a lot of the fat is rendering. And I kind of, I want to cook the onion right in here, but it's a little bit more fat than I'd like. Can you see all that? So I'm just going to take some of it out of the pan. Oh, our, time out. Our hazelnuts are ready to go into the preheated oven. So I'm going to take the hazelnuts and pop them into the toaster oven for 10 minutes. Okay, now I'm going to take my fat, I'm going to just tilt it, scoop up some of this excess fat, and I'm just going to dump it. Okay, so now I'm going to add the onion to this pan because the bacon's starting to cook a little bit and we don't want it to overcook, but we want everything to cook together. So I'm going to add the onions, and the onions are going to cook right in with that bacon and the bacon fat and get really flavorful. So we'll cook all that up. It's looking really nice. Yum. We'll let that go. Now, I do think there's going to be a little more grease in here than I want. It's going to be a little bit fatty. So when this is finished cooking, I want to let it sit on a paper towel just for a minute before I mix it back in with the eggs. So I'm going to get a plate with some paper towels so I can put this mixture on there. Our bacon and onions are looking really nice. And I think the next thing I want to do is scramble the eggs. I'm going to use 5 eggs for this because I think for whatever reason scrambled eggs, it doesn't seem like there's enough ever. So I add an extra egg. Normally I would do 2 eggs for Brandon, 2 eggs for myself, but I think we need a 5th egg because it's just not enough when you scramble them. I'm also going to sneak and add a little bit more beer to my breakfast cocktail. I have this really big measuring cup, and I like to scramble my eggs in here. I recommend getting one. It's nice whenever you're doing something that it's kind of between a bowl and a measuring cup, but I like that it pours. So I'm going to add all my eggs in here, and that way when we're ready to pour it, it pours really nicely from the big measuring cup. And I'm going to give this a little stir. The onions are starting to look done. They don't need to cook up for a huge amount of time. So I actually think this is really close. And I'm going to take it off in a minute and put it on the towel. And I'm going to just dump this right onto the paper towels. And that way it can just hang out until we're ready to make the rest of the scramble. My hazelnuts still have 4 minutes left. They're going to start to smell amazing when they start to roast, so I'm just checking on the fragrance. Okay, continuing with the eggs. I've got 4 more. Okay, now the eggs are ready to be whisked. Oh, and I can see and smell the hazelnuts. I'm going to take them out and just take a little peek at them. So they're steaming up a little bit. Oh, they're starting to smell really nice, but I think they need another couple of minutes. So I'm going to put them back in for 2 minutes left on the clock. Okay, for the eggs, we want them to get really whisked up, light and airy. So I'm going to use a whisk. I have this little baby whisk. So this is a little baby whisk. You can see it's just like this, a little bit bigger than the beer can. And I got this for making hot chocolate. You want to froth up the milk when you make hot chocolate, and it's a very small amount. So, but I also really like it for eggs. So I'm going to use this whisk on my eggs. This is my little baby whisk. And I'm gonna really whisk these up until they get really light. The timer just went off for the hazelnuts. So I'm gonna take a break with my whisk. My arm could use one anyway. And check on the hazelnuts. Ooh. Oh, they smell really good. I think they're done. The whole kitchen smells of roasted hazelnuts now. I'm gonna put them on a paper towel because I want to take the skins off of the hazelnuts. So what you want to do that is put them on a paper towel. We'll take a break with the eggs so we can finish the hazelnuts. Put them on a paper towel, and you can see they kind of got a little dark, and there's some steam coming off of them. Ooh, yes, that's what we want. So they're very rolly, these hazelnuts. So be careful, okay? And you can see after you roast them, the outer shells kind of just start coming off naturally, but we're going to peel them off with the paper towel. Okay, so now I have these hazelnuts on my paper towel, all over my paper towel and kitchen counter. And I'm gonna put them in the middle. Okay, guys. And I'm going to just kind of wrap them up and just roll them around. And you can hear the crinkling of the skins coming off. Oh no, we've had some breakage. Okay, so just keep rolling them around. And you can see they just kind of flake right off. You can eat the skins if you want, but I think they're a little, I'm not crazy about the texture, and it's a little intense. The flavor, now that we've roasted them, it's gotten a lot darker. And I just want the gorgeous inside roasted hazelnut. Let's taste one to make sure that it's good. Ah, it's perfect. That raw one that I ate was like really gross, but these are really nice now. Take one that's peeled. Whoops. Take one that's peeled.
Yummy.
Now we've got our hazelnuts, and we are ready to do our scramble. And then the last thing that I want to do is the toast. So I'm gonna prep everything I need for the toast so that I can cook the toast and the eggs at the exact same time so they finish at the same time. So before I return to the eggs, I will slice up some pieces of toast and get them ready for the toaster oven. I have this really nice, super grainy, fresh loaf of bread. You can see all the grains on it. So I like, with something like this, a really grainy bread. But if you like a French bread or a lighter bread, that's fine too. I just think a hearty bread goes well with the hazelnuts and the mascarpone. So I'm going to use a hearty whole grain bread. So I'm gonna slice about 4 pretty thick slices of this bread, and I'm going to set it so I'll have 2 little ones and 2 bigger ones, but that's okay because Brandon is bigger than I am, so he can have bigger pieces of bread than I can. So I'm gonna put them right in the toaster oven until I'm ready to push toast. Okay, before we toast the bread and get back to the eggs, I'm going to smash up the hazelnuts to sprinkle on the mascarpone after we put it on the toast. And I'm going to put the hazelnuts right in there. Okay, spread them out, get all the air out of the bag. Okay, so we have it like this. And then I'm going to take one of my favorite kitchen tools, the mallet, and I'm going to use the soft side, not the spiky side, to just smash these up. Now, one time I got in trouble because I was making quite a lot of noise smashing things with the mallet, and our downstairs neighbors complained. So try to, if there's like banging, like this knife is making a lot of noise, move that away to minimize the noise related to the banging. And just smash, so each nut, you don't want too finely ground pieces, but you don't want a whole nut. So just smash each nut like one time so you get some nice big chunks. Okay, so now you can see I've got a lot of nuts that are in half, and then I've got some smaller pieces. So this, oops, I think there's a hole in the bag. So I think this looks pretty good. So my pan is on medium-high heat, and I'm just about to start the timer for the toast. While I wait for this pan to heat up, I'm gonna give my eggs a little stir. Get them really airy before we put them in the pan. And I'm gonna start the toast now. So I want my toast pretty dark, so I'm gonna put it on like a 5 out of 7 just to start. And that takes like 4.5 minutes. So that's gonna be just about as much time as my eggs need, which is fine. So you can see the bubbles that form in the eggs when I do this. It looks great now. So now I'm gonna add a little butter to the pan. So I'm gonna add about a tablespoon of butter. So the butter's melting, the toast is toasting. I'm sipping my breakfast cocktail. We're really close to being done. Okay, the butter is melted. Okay. I'm going to add the eggs to the butter. Ooh, got me a little bit. And I'm going to use the rubber spatula to stir this around. And I'm going to add in the toppings right away. My delicious bacon and onions that I cooked. Okay. And I'm going to let it cook a little bit. When you do a scramble, you don't want to stir it too soon because you have to let the eggs cook before you start moving it around. So I'm going to let it sit for just a few seconds. I might, while I wait, add a little salt. Maybe like a 1/4 teaspoon. I like my eggs salty. And some pepper. Okay, we can always add more of this later. And then I'm going to start, oh, and now you can see all of that nice egg that's cooking. And you want to move it around in the pan to get the new egg touching. I highly recommend using a non-stick pan for this. When your eggs get stuck to the pan when you're scrambling them, it is like the worst thing ever. Very good. I think we're going to time this perfectly. The kitchen smells like toasted hazelnuts and toasted bread, and it's very yummy smelling in here. I'm going to give it like one last stir because I don't want to overcook it. And I think it's ready to come off the heat, so I'm going to turn the heat off. Give it one more stir, and I'm going to just put it in the bowls now. because it's so hot. By the time we're done with this, it'll actually be edible. So I'm gonna take my eggs and put some in each bowl. And that's the toast timer. I'm gonna take the toast out. It looks really good. Got my 4 pieces of toast here on my little toast plate. And now I'm gonna prep the toasts. Mascarpone is a little sweet. It's really delicious. I top it on my ratatouille that I made this week. But you can put it on bread. It's very common in tiramisu. It's delicious. It's just like this sweet, rich, thick cream. Oh, it's so good. Okay, and I'm just going to spread some mascarpone, a pretty thick layer, on each piece of toast. And if you don't like mascarpone, you can use ricotta for this, and the ricotta is wonderful as well. Okay, now we're gonna take the hazelnuts and sprinkle those on each toast. Yum. And then we're going to drizzle the honey right on top. Just like that. Okay. And we're ready to have brunch. I'm going to show you guys what it looks like. So we have our brunch today. Our gorgeous toast with mascarpone and roasted hazelnuts and honey. And then our delicious scrambles. So we are gonna have brunch now. Brandon looks hungry. He's playing video games. We'll go feed him. And that's it. So thank you for joining me for brunch. And Brandon, sort of. And I hope you guys like the recipes and what we cooked, and that we will see you again next time we brunch. Bye guys. Hi guys. I just wanted to show eating the eggs. You can see how light and fluffy they are, and how the bacon isn't too crispy, but it's really delicious. So I'm really enjoying it, and I just wanted you to know that.
It's yum.